Get a What's in 16 Days.
Moving forward with the Decker team. Moving forward together with the Decker team.
Welcome to another episode of Life's Inside Track. I'm Yetta Decker.
And I'm Ken Decker.
And we're excited that we get to come alongside you because you know what? We're learning thoughts, tips, techniques, and truths that we all need, we all deserve, you, I, everyone, that we can turn our house into a home where our families thrive and we live the best life possible. Well, given it's April 8th, What's in 16 Days is April 24th.
Yes, that's right. And do you remember the year we forgot what April 24th meant?
I do. We were at a trade show. We were working so hard and somebody came up to us at the trade show because they know more.
4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, it was 4 or 5 in the afternoon, probably, maybe later. Thought it was nighttime, but it's all dark in a trade show anyway. Dark and dreary inside a arena, right? Anyway, we don't do those anymore. No, thank you, because that was our lesson learned. We forgot it was our anniversary.
Yes.
And this year,
it's a big anniversary.
It's the big 4-0, not 4-0 birthday, which
How can that happen? You're not even 40 years old.
I know. I think I'm 34.
Yeah.
But I know that's an illusion. But it's an illusion.
I'm 29.
You don't have 29, maybe 5 most days.
Oh, ouch.
Ouch. Oucho, oucho. Anyway, what you're going to learn in this episode is...
Were you talking to my inner child?
No.
Well,
sort of. Yes. Kind of I was, but not really like I was. Anyway, we're good. We're okay. So what we're going to learn in this episode is that 40 years on the marriage journey means we've got thousands of lessons learned. And some of the lessons learned were from what didn't work, and some were from what did work. So we're going to enlighten you just on a couple that maybe can add as much value to your life as it has to ours.
Yeah, it's like that what was that elementary thing? You know, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
Names, I think it was. Names will never hurt me. Yeah.
It's totally wrong.
I know.
Because I think words cut the deepest. And they take longer or more work to heal than a paper cut or something, right?
They do. So what's that got to do with learning lessons from marriage? I'm really looking forward to how you tie it all together.
Well, because the language that we used against each other,
one of those lessons
originally was horrible.
Yes, it was.
And I think the real thing that we want to get across right now is that where do you get your lessons from? Right? You can get your lessons from experience. You can get your lessons from someone else. And those lessons from someone else can be what they wish they had done or what they actually did.
Right.
Like recently, we were on a Zoom participating in a wedding, which was occurring, where was it? In the Bahamas?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the Bahamas.
Yes,
Now, maybe I should have gone to it.
You should have gone.
But then again, I didn't get an invite.
You got a Zoom invite.
I got a Zoom invite. Yeah. I didn't get an invite to the actual on-site wedding because there can only be so many people there. It was an oceanfront wedding. It was gorgeous. All that to be said.
And it was wonderful.
This person is our coach. This person has taught us many different things. Her name is Lisa. And she got married to Marcellus. Mm-hmm. And Lisa had a relationship when she was very young and had a child and never got married, and that never went anywhere. And then Marcellus had children and his marriage didn't make it. So it's beautiful to see the young love between people. And yet, what's the difference between young love and long love?
What is it?
Well, obviously time.
That's a good one. Okay, some time.
Yeah, and I think, there was a study done once where they checked on the happiness of people. And I don't know how you can actually measure happiness, but they have some questions and you rank it between 1 and 10. How fulfilled, how satisfied you are, and how blah, blah, blah. At any rate, what they discovered was the people that had a horrible marriage and worked through it.
Right. Now, I'm going to put a caveat here because this is something
Not
that...
always. It was a study.
I understand these generalities and these studies didn't necessarily take into consideration if it was an abusive marriage.
No.
If it was something where one person was technically evil, that's a very different conversation, or both, maybe, I don't know, but very different conversation when then it's just we grew out of love. We don't see the same things the same way anymore. He's grown, she hasn't, or vice versa. And where there just isn't compatibility anymore, where there once was love, and nobody is inherently evil.
Or working to keep it together.
Right.
So at any rate, what they discovered was the people that left one partner went to another partner.
Right.
That the ones that worked through their troubles and stayed together
Right.
had a higher happiness rating
Right.
than the people that chose another.
On average.
On average.
On
You know
average.
why?
Well, I think why is because you take you with you.
Yes.
And so the challenge becomes...
See, that's old love. You know what I was going to say. I know what you're going to say most of the time. That's old love. It's
That's-
familiar. It's comfortable.
Yeah. And we want to keep it alive and fresh. And
That's
in longevity of relationship, you've learned some things that at one point were just theory. Right? So there was that day where I went to see one of our coaches, amazing business coach, not the same coach that we just talked about, a different coach. And Ken and I were having some challenges. And the challenges had to do kind of like with this show, actually, kind of it was repetitive of a behavior, and it was around collaboration. Collaboration is tricky for us, not because we can't collaborate. I can collaborate really well with other people. Ken collaborates with other people, sort of. But Ken tends to create better in isolation and then let you have some input. And he might be insulted by what you say, but not so much anymore.
I used to be. Yeah.
You used to be. You couldn't really. So collaboration was tricky. And I want to talk it out, and Ken wants to think it out. You've probably heard us say before that if you're somebody that thinks as you speak, or you're an external processor, that what happens is if somebody interrupts your talking, they actually interrupt your thinking. Whereas if I interrupt Ken's thinking,
And you interrupt my silence.
his silence, I interrupt his thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And so collaboration was really tricky for us. So I said to the coach, business coach, actually, so because it was a business conversation, it was making me nuts in business more than it was in the bedroom.
This was about 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm. And she said, well, clearly, how can you expect something of him? He hasn't been able to give you for 35 years. Time to stop having a false expectation. If you can't collaborate, he can't collaborate. Just back off and leave that alone. And I took that counsel for a while. And yet, begrudgingly, yeah, really begrudgingly, let's be truthful, very truthful. And yet what I've discovered is we just had to keep navigating it. We had to keep going back at it. Bottom line was she had never been in any relationship for a really extended period of time. So she never had to fight through someone changing in a way that they hadn't changed in for the first 40 years. Right? So it's just a different conversation.
Working at changing to make the relationship even better.
Right.
Like if we didn't collaborate, and what we learned was our idea of collaboration was different.
Right.
So I'm happy to sit down and work with you, but I got to work down and do it individually first.
Right.
And so that made a big difference.
So here's what we want you to be left with. Ask the right person the right question. Because even if you ask the right question as the wrong person, it's not going to work. Because theory is not reality very often.
So we're grateful to be your partners on this journey of wealth, wisdom, and worth.
Moving forward with the Decker team. Moving forward.